The UK government announced over 40 bills in the King's Speech on the 17th of July. But what does this mean for the housing sector? I thought I'd cover this off all in one section, so we'll be covering off the Renters' Rights Bill, the Leasehold and Common Hold Reform Bill, and the Planning and Infrastructure Bill, which runs hand in hand with Labour's ambitious house building plans. But before we start, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like, alert and subscribe buttons. The Renters' Rights Bill. Is this the end for landlords? Previously named the Renters' Reform Bill, it's felt that this piece of legislation was dropped by the Conservatives so that Labour would end up having to deal with the inevitable fallout from a court system that is ill-equipped to deal with the potential extra workloads and the period of adjustment. Fundamentally though, this bill looks very much like a rehash of the old one. As we've already covered, if you're a good landlord and you're taking up references and have a good relationship with a tenant or a good managing agent, there's very little to worry about here. This, in a nutshell, are the proposed changes. 1. Abolish Section 21 to remove the threat of no-fault evictions. This is the most contentious issue with landlords. Whilst very few landlords have ever served a Section 21 notice, there is understandable worry. Labour have said that they will abolish Section 21s from day one and deal with the courts later. However, this whole bill will still need to go through the lengthy parliamentary process, and I think it's unlikely they'll be able to remove the Section 21 without reforming the courts, and the courts will probably never be ready. So either the bill will go through with the other constituent parts, but with Section 21 remaining, or with Section 21s replaced with something very similar, so that Labour can say that they have removed Section 21. Either way, I think we're some way off anyone having to worry about this, despite security of tenure being important for tenants. This is really aimed at that very small rogue element of landlords, but would cause problems from that small rogue element of tenants. 2. Give renters the ability to request a pet in their property. The landlord doesn't have to agree, but they do have to consider it. It may be that your lease doesn't allow pets, for instance, and the tenant would have to take out special insurance. I think generally where tenants have pets and children, they tend to stay longer as moving becomes more of an upheaval. So that's a good thing too. 3. Rolling tenancies. Tenants have to stay for 4 months before they can give 2 months notice, so no fixed tenancies, although this does not apply to student accommodation. 4. Ban unfair rent increases. You can now only raise once a year and no more than 10%. Frankly, I don't think most landlords would do it any more than this anyway. Number 5, make sure private rented homes are safe and secure with a decent home standard and extend the reach of AWAB's law. This would work in conjunction with a new ombudsman to prevent cases ending up in court and is again aimed at eliminating that small rogue landlord element. It is as it says, if your boiler breaks down, you should expect to get it fixed. Obviously, most good landlords will do this anyway, so they have absolutely nothing to worry about. But those that don't can have their rents frozen until they do. So a good thing all round and aimed at the rogue element. 85% of tenants say they are happy with the condition of their property, and around 15% are happy-ish. It's really only a couple of percent who aren't, and quite rightly they will benefit from this. AWAB's law refers to mould, where similarly landlords must deal with the problem and can no longer blame this on the tenant's lifestyle. 6. They're saying they want to get EPCs up to a C, which for some properties, Victorian for instance, is sometimes impossible, so it will be interesting to see how they deal with this. 7. Create a digital database for the private rented sector, and of course it's good for the tenant to know that they are dealing with a good and proper person. 8. Prevent discrimination against local authority tenants and tenants with children. 9. Rent controls are not in the bill, and Angela Rayner has said that Labour would not be introducing them as they would create widespread homelessness. It hasn't worked anywhere it's been introduced, i.e. Scotland, Ireland, Europe and New York. It has led to large numbers of landlords leaving the market and has in fact led to Scotland having the fastest growing rents in the UK. The draft Leasehold and Common Hold Reform Bill. This aims to make the bill that has already passed even stronger, so just a better version of what we've already got. This will be good for leaseholders but bad for freeholders, although it is a system that many would consider needs to be reformed. 1. enacting remaining Law Commission recommendations to bolster leaseholders' fundamental rights. 2. With marriage values dropped, they're intending to make the cost of lease extensions even cheaper, but this could take 3 to 5 years to go through. So if you've got a short lease, you may still want to do this now. 3. Reinvigorating common hold by modernising the legal framework. 4. Restricting the sale of new leasehold flats. 5. Regulating ground rents for existing leaseholders. This was dropped in the last bill as it was a massive handful due to some of the considerable vested interests. So watch this space. 6. Bringing the injustice of leasehold private estates and unfair costs to an end. 7. Implementing the Leasehold and Reform Act 2024 so that leaseholders can benefit from more rights, power and protections over their homes. The Planning and Infrastructure Bill. In relation to property, the government committed to building 1.5 million homes over the course of the next Parliament. This has now been raised to 1.85 million. Every government has set out with this aim, and all have failed due to a very large extent to planning problems and understandable NIMBYism. But this isn't the only problem. Outside their control is the fact that many developers are sitting on large sites because high interest rates make the whole building process too expensive to make any margins. Hopefully we'll see base rates coming down, but this will not be a quick process. Either way, it's felt that a much needed restructuring of the planning process will greatly facilitate their goals. So the important parts of this bill are: 1. Modernise planning committees and ensure they are better funded. 2. Strengthen the capacity of local planning authorities and recruit extra much needed planning officers. 3. Aim to make planning much easier on brownfield sites and some greenfield sites. 4. Reform compulsory purchase compensation rules to ensure compensation paid is fair, with the aim of stimulating large building projects. 5. Use development to fund nature recovery. 6. Ensure new developments provide a higher level of social housing. 7. Ensure new developments reach for the highest standards of green sustainable building in line with their green initiative. So, in conclusion, rent controls and the removal of Section 21s has been the biggest worry for landlords, and neither are likely to happen. There really is nothing bad coming your way if you're a good landlord, and there's some really good stuff coming your way if you're a leaseholder. But one of the most pressing problems is the ever-growing housing crisis. There have been 16 housing ministers since 2010, and in the period in which the government has had 7 housing ministers, Labour has had just one, Matthew Pennycook, who got the best degree in his year at LSE. He will work directly under Angela Rayner and is the Member of Parliament for Greenwich and Woolwich. So I hope that we now have a period of stability and strong government where the housing sector gets the attention that is absolutely critical now for the country. If you like this, please make sure you subscribe to my channel and make sure you watch my other market updates, which include a report on 3 reasons why I think we can expect a turbocharged end to the year for property sales.